Hello, welcome to My Messy Fingers. I'm Charlie. We are making a new album and it's featuring the newest release of Stamperia's The Owl's House. I'm going to be playing with the maxi pad. It has 22 single-faced sheets. And then I'm going to be playing with two of the double-faced sheets, two of those packets. Now, Scrap and Create is who sent me these collections to play with, so please swing on by their website. If you haven't purchased a collection, please price them out and consider purchasing from them. They would really appreciate it. They ship fast and they ship awesome. I mean, everything is wrapped so beautifully. So we're going to make the album. Now, I've already taken out my two pages that I'm going to be playing with. So let me get in here and I can show you what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be my front of my album, and I'm going to be cutting this owl out and I'm going to raise it up off the face of the page. If that's something you do not like doing, no problem, just use the face of the page. And then I'm going to continue this wintry theme across the back of the album with this. I am going to be using a color to wrap the book that's called Baghdad Brown. And then I'm going to offset the brown and the paper with just a nice bright white so that each of the colors stand out a little bit. So let's get into this. You're going to need to get two panels, chipboard panels, medium weight, that are cut to 9 by 9. We're going to have a spine that's going to be 1 7/8 by 9. I bind all of these, I put them all together using a product called Tyvek. You can also get this at Scrap and Create. This essentially is a shipping envelope, and it's very resilient, and it is extremely difficult to tear this paper. That's why I like using it. So it will go to the outside of my chipboard, so as the hinge flexes and the album covers come up and down, your cardstock's going to be behind this. So the cardstock is sliding, it's gliding over this side of the Tyvek. It helps to minimize tears. So I've not had a problem. I love doing it this way. I've tried other methods for binding and I'm just really super comfortable with this. And a sheet of this Tyvek will last through several albums. So this piece is trimmed at 2 by 9. You can go 2 by 8 and 3/4 or 8.5 if you want, if you don't want to go all the way to the top. You're going to score 7/8 of an inch, and then you're going to score at 1 1/8 of an inch so that you create this 1/4 inch hinge. And you're going to, that's where you're going to put your tape, and you're going to create 2 of these. Now let's set this aside because we need to talk about the cardstock. The cardstock I'm using, I buy all of my cardstock from an online store called cardstockwarehouse.com. Excuse me, I apologize. And I'm missing a piece. You need 2 sheets of this that is 11.5 by 11. I don't know if this is my other sheet. No, I think I trimmed it for something else. No, here it is, here it is. I thought maybe I just ruined me. Okay, so 11.5 by 11. By the time we put this together, we're going to have a 1-inch brown frame all the way around. This is going to have a 3/8 tape seam. You do not need it to be any bigger, but if you wish to make it bigger, that's fine. But do not make it any smaller. A 1/4 inch protective seam where you've got flexing going on. I find that 3/8 works just fine and it's not overkill. And then we're going to line everything up. We're going to put the center here after these panels are all made, and then we're going to use a whole bunch of tape. So let's get to putting together. Oh, let me get back to this cardstock. This is 83 pound weight. If you go to cardstockwarehouse.com, you can find an array of paper textures, paper colors, thicknesses, but unfortunately, some of their colors only come in one weight, and Baghdad Brown comes in 83 pound weight. So it's a little stiffer than you're probably normally used to working with, but I'm used to working with 100 pound weight because I love the sturdiness of it. If I can get a color in a 65 pound weight, I do, and that's what I wrap with. But all of my internal pages will be made with a heavier weight cardstock. So if you swing by their website and you look for Baghdad Brown, you're going to need 25 sheets of this, so they'll sell it in a pack, but you're only going to find it in one weight. Otherwise, pick whatever color brown you want, or if you don't like brown, match a different color to the album. It is going to be yours when you're done, so be happy with it. That's all. All right. We're going to start putting these things together. We're going to line these chipboard pieces up. We're going to follow that seam line that we've got with the tape, but I'm going to take it a step further. I have some spacers. They're for sale on my website until the stock runs out. I'm going to be putting the spacers in between here so that I can guarantee that I maintain that 1/4 inch. You'd be surprised what just a fraction of an inch does to your album and its ability to stand up straight. It's not lopsided because one side is taller than the other, or you've got one side where you've got a gap that's bigger than the other. So I am going to come in here first off, and I'm going to peel off the tape that's the closest to my score mark. And then I'm going to line this up, set it down, and then I'm going to come in with my spacer. Oh, come on. And I'm going to make sure everything is level, and in we go. Nice 1/4 inch spacing. So now we're going to do the same thing over here. These spacers come in 4 different sizes. So if you are used to always having to measure out different increments, you might want to swing by and check them out. Okay, we're going to put this back in. Now I want you to look real carefully right here. You see what that just did? How it folded up like this? That's going to become important here in a little bit. So please, when we get there, pay attention, please. Because I don't want you to ruin your album. All right, so we've got some nice 1/4 inch spacing going on there. We're going to take this backing off back here, and we're going to burnish. Come on. There are just days, I gotta tell you. There we go. And this spatula comes with the spacers, and I find that I really enjoy using it. It's easy on my hands for burnishing. All right, so there we go. We are now put together. We're going to wrap, so let's get those out. Again, you need 2 pieces that are going to measure 11.5 across by 11 in the height. Using a 3/8 of an inch tape, we're going to combine these two. Follow the tape line all the way up. Now, this. So I want this seam, and actually there's 2 parts to this seam. You've got the seam that you can see, and then you've got the 3/8 of an inch seam that's coming right about here. As best as possible, I want this in the middle. Whenever I make my albums, I want that stress point in the most protective spot that it can, plus aesthetically, it looks better if it's in the center of the spine. It is not good if that seam is like this, because now you've got that stress point right on the hinge, and I think aesthetically, unless it can absolutely not be helped, I don't like seeing seams that come down through the front of it. And when that happens on my albums, I end up creating a cover that is going to help hide, mitigate that seam. So that's just my process. So here we go. Now, the intent is that we're going to have 1 inch all the way around. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting 1/2 inch tape on the cardstock all the way around. We're going to put 3/8 of an inch here on these edges all the way around. And then we're going to flip this over, and we're going to put a lot of tape back here because we want this down up against the cardstock. So let's start with this side here. And it's going to be 3/8 of an inch. And the reason it's 3/8 is that it will bridge the gap between when the cardstock lays over, we burnish it and we start to fold it over. It will bridge the gap between the 1/2 inch that's on the cardstock. There's a gap, and this will fill in that gap. I'll show you when we get there. Now, if you have a preferred method of making an album, by all means do it. But please keep in mind that when I build my albums, I build it with the intent that there's going to be 5/8 of an inch space between the pages, because as we add signatures, that space is going to get eaten up, and I like to do some build-ups. So if there is only a 1/2 inch seam, and then you're putting 3/8 of an inch of a buildup on either side, you now end up with only that much room for those pages to lay against each other. With a 5/8 seam, if I do a 1/2 inch, if I do a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch buildup, I'm still left with a pretty good gap in between each of the signatures. So if you're going to do your own album method, just please keep that in mind. And I'm going to set that as, no, I'm going to finish this. Okay, I'm going to turn it over. And we're going to start adding some tape back here. I'm going to run 2 rows right here where your stress point is. I'm going to come down here and put a strip right at the end, in the middle, and then in the middle again of each section. And then on the spine, I'm going to run one right up along. I'm going to run one in the middle and then another one right up along the edge of that chipboard. Now I will come inside again. I will run 2 strips side by side. I will come down here and in the middle. And then in the middle again. Spatula comes in handy for this. You can burnish a lot in one fell swoop here. All right, let's set that aside because now we're going to take 1/2" tape and we're going to go around the perimeter. Now you can do this in sections if you wish. I just typically run one long strip. Okay, burnish. Okay, let's get back to this. All right, this is where I want to bring you back to what I was demonstrating earlier. Remember when I showed you that this did this? This is where it becomes critical because putting this down, when we peel this tape off the back here, we want to make sure that we're giving a good tug and putting that straight down so that you prevent this business. Because then you're using a lot of product to get it undone or you're ripping it apart. So I am going to take off what's here on the spine. I want roughly 1/2 inch all the way around. Pick it up, nice firm hold, pull, and lay down. Now we're going to repeat that. Get a good hold on it, firm pull, there we go. We're going to trim our corners out now. So whatever tool it is that you use. Well, there we go. Excuse the turn. Now this is where we will be doing a lot of flexing and bending to get that cardstock to flex. We want the paper to give, so we're going to just kind of do some gentle folding to break the fiber. I'm going to turn this around. It's easier for me to do it this way. Now, I had someone message me, and I will show you here. You can do this if you want. It's probably not a bad idea, but you can run glue right along the chipboard where the cardstock and the chipboard come together on these ends. So I thought I would do it, demonstrate it. So this piece I'm pulling, I'm removing this piece and this piece, but these edges are going to fold over, so I'm going to pull back these just a little bit. Now let's get in here and let's really burnish this. Need some good pressure. 85-pound weight's not that easy, but like I said, I'm very used to it. Okay, let's pull this back. We're going to remove this. And we're going to remove this. But before we do, we need to I call it smash and turn. You're going to smash and turn that corner in right there so that it's folding up under this flap. So I'm going to come in here with a little bead of glue. It doesn't hurt. Okay, I'm going to turn this so that I can do this end. I'm going to pull that back. I'm going to remove this one. But before I do, I need to turn these corners. We're going to put a little bead of glue. Work that paper again, break that fiber, bend it over, and there we go. Now I'm going to turn these corners. Excuse, I've got to come down here and do this one, so I apologize if I'm off camera, if my arm's in the way, but I need to do this. Okay. All right, let's work that fiber. Now, something that's round that will fit in a 1/4 inch hinge, because we're going to push this cardstock down into the hinge. There's tape here, and we want that tape to make contact with the Tyvek down below. Be very careful when you're doing this because you don't want to tear. If you do tear, your only remedy, in my opinion, is to glue it, seal it. We're going to be covering it up, so if you do tear, no worries, because it's going to be hidden. Otherwise, the only other option you have is to take it apart, and that's not an option. Okay, so we get these down in there, we're going to close it up, and what we have are some nice clean corners. Okay, now we're going to build the structure for our pages. You're going to trim a piece that's going to be 6 inches across by 8 7/8. And we're going to, boy, that's an ugly trim down there. Just a second. And then you're going to center this so you have as equal amount on either side of the spine. And you're going to come down to where you're just about 1/16 of an inch off the top and the bottom. We're going to put tape on this, and it's going to be 1/2 inch tape. And we're just going to do the perimeter. Okay, here, I'm going to put 2 rows of 1/2 inch tape just on the cardstock. I do not need to cover the cardstock because tape off of this will be doing that job. And I need to cap my glue because if I don't, it's going to dry out. So my apologies. There we go. Okay. So now, again, this is going to center right over this, and we're going to come down to where we're just about 1/16 of an inch off the edge. If you want this shorter, cut it shorter. It's your album. But keep in mind, this is what I'm measuring my pages to, so if you cut it shorter, you're going to have to cut your pages shorter, and then you will be cutting all the other elements, like the collection paper, shorter to fit. So that's entirely up to you. I'm going to take the 2 here out of the center of the spine first. And there's a process to this, or you're going to be disappointed. So we're going to line this up, come in about 1/16 of an inch. We're going to lay this down, and we're going to burnish that center. And then we're going to come in here, and we're going to remove the tape backing from the, and we're just going to let it lay down. We're not burnishing this, not at this point. Excuse me. We just want to remove the backing, no burnishing. I'll show you why here in a minute. So again, we're going to take all the backing off the tape. We're just going to let it lay there. I'm not pressing it down. If it makes contact, that's fine. But you'll see why here in just maybe 3 seconds. Okay, let's just put some of these loose tape ends under. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm bending my page so that I can find out where my hinge is, where my spine is. And then I'm going to rub very gently and get this cardstock pushed down inside that hinge. with an emphasis on trying to identify this edge of the spine. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. Press it down in there very gently but firmly. Lay it down and now burnish it. Nice clean corners. And everything is pushed down in there. I do have some tape here I want to get rid of. I don't like that stuff showing through, and I missed turning it under, so bear with me. Okay. Now I'm going to erase some of my pencils because I don't want them showing. All right, so here we go. Now, I am not covering these two sides. It's a waste of good cardstock because we're going to be putting signatures on these two panels. So there will be no cardstock going on these. Here are your pages. Right now I have them cut at 8 7/8 in their height by 9 5/8 in their length. And I came in here and I scored this at 5/8 of an inch. 1/2 inch tape. We're going to fold that under and then we're going to attach it. Now I might have to trim the end of this, but I'll know more when I get it in the album. So I don't know if you can see very well here where I have identified this edge of the spine. That's where this is going to sit just in front of that. And it's going to sit in just like so. Now, this is not normally how I put it down, but I have it in such, I think, a pretty good looking spot. I thought I'd go for it. All right. So it's laying here nice. Before I add the next one, I want to close it and I want to see perfect. See, I don't like these coming clear to the end because I do some buildups that's going to take up some of this space. So our measurement on that was 8 7/8 by 9 5/8. By 9 5/8 with a 5/8 score. Okay? Second page gets inserted. Take the tape backing. And then I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to sneak. I don't know if I've got it upside down. Oops, where'd it go? I put that on wrong. God bless it. I put it on wrong. I did too. What a goofball. This is supposed to be on the reverse side. I was so happy about how cleanly that went down. I didn't even realize I was putting it on the wrong way. So it should have been attached this way. So if I'm lucky enough, I can just follow that same tape line, set this down. I may end up having to put some glue on that if that undo doesn't dry fast enough. Okay. Fold this over. Burnish it. Now I have the, see, I'm not perfect, folks. I never said I was. But now I have my lip right here that this edge is going to come up underneath. I'm just going to tack it down gently because I want to be able to lay it down and lay these together to see if these are lining up straight, and they're good enough for me. So now I will show you going in reverse order. So here's the 5/8 seam. between this panel and this panel. Here's a 5/8 seam. Here's a 5/8 seam between this panel and what will go here. So there is the album. If you have any questions, give me a holler. We will come back and we will continue to build the pages. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.